Hey everybody, welcome to our quick look at TechTracker.io. So let's quickly jump into it, right? TechTracker.io. Well, what is TechTracker.io? So essentially, TechTracker.io is a lead database. It's a data set that's constantly being updated and growing, and being updated in real time, of course, right? So this is a data set about which technologies companies are using. So, for example, if a company has just maybe started using WordPress or started using Marketo, for example, what TechTracker does is goes out and tracks the different websites out there on the internet and just keeps a track, keeps a record of like what are the different technologies being added or being used on the different platforms. So I think the closest analogy, the closest alternative to Tech Tracker, right, would be something like say BuildWith, right, which is similarly, a data set that's captures all the different technologies different websites are using. So let's talk a little bit about what Tech Tracker does, right? So let's maybe think about why we would use something like the Tech Tracker. So the fact of the matter is that most of us are working closely with technology tools, right? Since most of us are like designers, web developers, or maybe we're in B2B technology, for example. Sometimes, business opportunities arise when companies change the tools that they're using. For example, maybe if a company has upgraded from, say, ActiveCampaign to Marketo, for example, there's opportunity for you to maybe sell your services, right? So the thing is, what would you be able to do if you could see what technologies companies out there are using, right? How would that help your sales and business development effort, right? What if you could track their technology changes constantly? So I think for most of us, or those of us that are in business development, whether you're a business owner, or entrepreneur, or you're in business or tech sales, right? This intelligence, like information like this, helps us to basically sell better by knowing which companies to target and which companies to prospect to. So that's the basic thinking behind TechTracker.io. So today we're going to look at this service which provides this valuable tech data, right? So before we start off, right, I'm just going to say that if you're looking for the best deal for TechTracker.io, go do check out the link in the video description of this YouTube video. So we're going to update it regularly to show off the best offer at any point in time. So if you're looking for the best offer for TechTracker.io, just head on down to the video description and look for the link that points you to the right where the best promotion is, right? Where the best pricing is. So let's talk about TechTracker.io as a website, right? So as you can see on the website, it's basically telling you, what is a data set, right? Telling you what companies are using, which companies are using Adobe Experience Manager, for example. It's a fairly new platform, right? Just launched in 2020, you can tell. So as of now, the video today we're recording the video in April of 2020, right? So you can tell that the platform is actually quite new, although in the works since 2016, right? So I can say from personal experience right now, it does work, although there are a few like kinks here and there. Um, so how these tech trackers work, right, is they crawl the websites they crawl the internet for different websites and take a look at the code and see what kind of technologies are being used, right? And that's actually how they compile the data sets, right? Um, Another way that they do is, of course, they encourage users to download their Chrome extension, which is added here. So in the example, this is here. So the information also gets passed over to the data set, if I'm not wrong. So an example of another Chrome extension out there in the market that does this is What Runs, right? So you can actually take a look at the underlying technology that's driving the page, for example. Like, for example, you can see that they are using a Cloudflare CDN. So based on my experience, the Chrome extension for Tech Tracker is not nearly as accurate as what runs, but then this is a fairly young platform again, so I'm sure that it will be improving over time. I think it's worthwhile to also know that when compared to a lot of these kind of services out there, the basic prices for such services are like starting in, say, the low hundreds, right up to maybe close to 1,000. So it's essentially something that's a fairly enterprise offering. It's really for sales to sell high value, either services or high value technology products to companies. So if you have the opportunity to get in on the ground level with such a tech data platform, right? And secure a good price for it, I think it's useful to consider it, right? But let's quickly jump into the different parts of Tech Tracker. So if you go into the dashboard, right, this is what you'll see, right? You'll see that there is a category called tech categories. Let's explore a little bit of what of the different categories, right? So under tech categories, right, you can see basically right now it's showcasing all the different uh, technology tech categories that are available. So what people are using. So let's say, for example, we go to security, right? For example, we take a look at the security, website security as a category, right? Let's say, for example, maybe you are selling website services or you're selling maintenance plans, for example. Uh, Maybe what you want to do is you want to take a look at who is already using um, uh, website security, but perhaps their website looks old and they haven't really been updating it recently. You could maybe approach them for web maintenance services or a web revamp, because you know that maybe they value their website quite a fair bit. So this is an example of website technologies. So there's a total of of 90,000 different websites being tracked. So you can see that security firewall has a large market share based on what they've seen. I can't verify if this is exactly correct, but it's a good place to start from as a data set, right? So if you go into security firewall cloud proxy, right, you can see that basically this lists out all the different companies that are using security firewall, for example. So you can click on the website, their website links to go to the website and take a look at it yourself, right? So that's an example of how you would use tech categories, right? Another example is another part of their menu is recent technologies. So recently added technologies, for example. So let's say, for example, within this, right, I want to take a look at who is using Albatross, for example, right? So I can see these are the companies that are using Albatross right now. So when we say recently added technologies, right, this is referring to technologies that are recently added to Tech Tracker. So as you know, there are there are many new technologies that are being introduced each and every day, right? So as the platform adds more of these technologies that are being introduced to the market, then it will update it here. So this is not to say that the technologies are being added to the website recently, to say that these are the technologies that are being added into the data set um, recently, right? So you can see the date when it has been added. Yeah. So if you go to take a look at some of these data sets, for example, let's take a look at, okay, we're going to take a look at this. Yeah, so shout out to Jason, right? I think this is his website. So, it's taking a look at all the different softwares that have been added to Jason's Jason Key's website, right? So this is interesting. So basically, as you can see, like this kind of information is useful for really just kind of like understanding what's the underlying technologies that are being used on different websites. So you kind of like know what you can sell to these companies also. So that's the tech categories portion, right? Let's move on to things like reports, right? So reports. So this is an example of a report that's been generated, right? I'm taking a look at all instances of websites using Shopify belonging to the health and wellness and fitness niche, right? In the United States of America, right? USA. So you can see that here they've generated a list of different websites and everything. So I've asked him to generate a size of 100, right? So if you go to any of the websites, this is what you'll see. You'll see that things are being added and then being removed and everything. So I think this is useful as a proxy to kind of like start with, but you would really have to go down to the website yourself and really take a look at what is the underlying technology that is being used here. But as a starting point, especially for all of us in business development, this is a starting point for you to kind of like figure out different things, right? So if you wanted to build your own report, right, this is where you would go. This is how it would look like. So if, for example, you suggest a technology that you want to target like Marketo. For me, I'm saying Singapore. right? And people, companies and websites in Singapore using Marketo. So I would build my report. It'll take a while to generate and everything. Then after that, what you would see is something that's close to this for Shopify, right? So I'm just gonna head on to the other parts of the things like alerts, right? So when it comes to alerts, right, what alerts do is let me see. Let me just kind of see. So alerts, right, are good for tracking competitors and prospects, right? Because at the end of the day, what if you wanted to, for example, track a competitive or competitive, let's say you're prospecting to e-commerce websites in the niche, right? You will be able to add their website to a website alert, right? And it will show you the type of technologies that's being added or removed on a daily basis. So I've already run this on a few other websites previously already. So it works, but I think there are still some kinks here and there also. So this is something that I think is developing, but I think you would have to balance it against common sense. But it's a good place to start from. So if you're trying to track competitors or just trying to track maybe a big potential client, right? This is a useful tool to take, right? So an example of the websites that are being tracked right now, right? And then I'm going to take a look at technology alerts. So technology alerts work in this way, right? You would go to create a new technology alert, and you tell them, for example, notify me when websites in the United Kingdom belong to any industry or vertical, if any employee headcount has started or stopped using Facebook ads, for example. So I could create this, right? I just could just go to Facebook ads and then just turn on and then save. Then it starts going there. So it will collect the data on a daily basis, right? So it's useful for if you wanted to just have a broad, let's say your Facebook ad agency is useful for keeping track of, which companies in your market are maybe starting or using Facebook ads. And so you can actually go into more detail and take a look at their Facebook page, their Facebook ad accounts, what are the ads that are being shown in the ad library. And from there, you can actually kind of like maybe decide if you want to approach these companies or not. At the end of the day, the data is just the data, right? It's just a starting point for, especially for those of you in business development, you will know that this kind of data is useful, but at the end of the day, it's really about how you take the data and use it and how you fashion your business pitch and proposition. So that's essentially the quick look at techtracker.io. So let's maybe just recap a bit, right? So I would say that this platform is young. There have been some hiccups that I've experienced, but they've been fixed and it's working now. I would say that the data set is growing, and I think it will be more accurate over time. So a lot of companies like this start out with data sets that are a little bit almost immature. That's still growing, right? But over time, as it adds on more and more data point, it helps to grow. The use case is really for those that are selling marketing or B2B technology, I would say. And I think it's useful to think about it in terms of like return on investment. So for people who are using this type of data, right, to sell, right, these are usually larger ticket items, right? So if you can maybe just land one business deal from the information you glean from this dataset platform, right? It will probably pay for itself in its own way, right? So that essentially is the value proposition. So it's for you to consider, right? So I think my verdict is if you're really selling marketing or B2B technology, it's worth getting in early to just kind of like secure more favorable rates for access to these data sets. After all, alternatives such as Build With have plans starting in the low of month. So it's really up to everyone. If you find that this is something that's useful for you, do check out the link in our description, which would have the information to whichever is the most updated price or promotion, or the best price or promotion for this tool that's ongoing right now. So if you find this useful, drop us a comment or ask a question. Tell us what do you think of this tool. Then we can use your feedback to really improve future reviews and stuff. Right. So thanks everyone.